Hello, and welcome back to Queen Beast. Let's see. Last we left off, Otto and Switch. They made their way through the forest. They defeated the nymph, who has been reborn into our little friend Echo. We've gone through the forest and are currently in a abandoned village. The sister Winnie, I did remember her name, nice. Winnie is currently captured in, I guess, this tower in the capital. I assume that's where it is. And we got introduced to the Beast, a flat tomboy lady, and she seems pretty cool. So I was messing around in the gallery, and there's this guest art here. Man, just look at the quality of this stuff. I need to figure out how to... I've taken a screenshot of this. I might study it over the weekend because damn, that looks good. You got this smug little thing here. Perfect. I adore it. That one's just really simple and cute. Anyway, back to chapter 3. The sun is just beginning to peek over the mountains when Switch, Echo and myself take our leave of Granny's fine accommodation. We follow our host down to the river, where a sturdy little boat is lying upside down on the bank. This here is my husband's old tub. You're welcome to borrow it for as long as you need to. If it isn't liable to spring a leak, it'll bring you to the capital by noon. Ooh, that's quite fast actually. Do either of you know how to scull a boat? It's not unlike the ones we used on the lake back home. I'm sure we can manage. We really can't thank you enough, Granny. You'll be getting a commendation in my report to the guild. I'm just making a good bet is all. I believe the change you brought about in the forest is a good omen. I'd be making the same mistake as my ancestors if I didn't put my faith in it. Still, we should give you something in the way of compensation. Would you like some gold? What good is gold? There's no economy out here. I love this running gag of the gold being useless. I skipped on the coffee tonight for some green tea. Hopefully it helps with the throat. To be entirely honest, I'm not as comfortable with boats as I had made myself out to be before we shoved off. I tended to avoid using them back home on account of being such an exceptionally poor swimmer. I wanted to seem more capable in Switch's estimation, I suppose. The idea of having her do the rowing doesn't sit well with my sense of male pride. The boat itself feels like a well-made vessel, forgiving enough of my inexperience, and our journey down the river is going about as smoothly as I could hope. Not feeling the risk of being left behind, Echo has left the confines of the craft to skim around on the surface of the water and play with the fish, pulling them bodily out of the water and laughing with an innocent cruelty at their affronted and terrified reactions. The fair landscape and peaks and valleys rendered in pale morning light rolls away on either side of the prow, where Switch sits, looking oddly pensive. Perhaps her more modest attire has put a damper on her usual exuberance. I feel a bit sorry for her, but being dressed to suit this bucolic scenery only serves to make her more beautiful. That's a new word. I'm going to look that one up. Bucolic. Rustic. Cool. Beautiful. Huh? But oh, what was that? What a beautiful land this is. Ah, okay. What's Casper like? It's a big country with a diverse climate. Every region is special in its own way. At its northern extent, it's not too different from here. We're neighbours after all, but the central region is where I come from, is mostly desert. Desert? A sea of sand, huh? I've never seen the ocean, so it's hard for me to imagine. There's a river there too. It's even bigger than this one. It's the country's lifeblood, and its foremost source of bloodshed. Any excuse will do if you're Oh god, why did I go into Granny? Wipe that holier-than-thou look off your face, Fairy. I'm not going to discuss human nature with you, of all creatures. Actually, I don't want to discuss it at all. Her mood soured. Switch folds her arms and sinks down into the prow, her long brown legs stretching out from under her skirt and across the hull. There's nothing in this world less interesting than war. When it comes down to it, it's just a bunch of dick waving. And there's no point in getting riled up about something like that on a nice morning like this. The sun is shining and there's a cool breeze on the water. Go ahead and have a little... No. What voice am I doing for Echo? I can't go that high. Go ahead and have a little nap. You're among friends here. Ugh. Switch rolls onto her side and pushes herself upright again. Okay, it's time for a story. A story? Yep, gotta stave off the drowsiness somehow. You're only delaying the inevitable. It's a story about the great river in my homeland. Every little kid in Casper knows it. So be a good girl and listen quietly. Ah yes, I'm not a child. I'm 1,000 years old. The classic excuse. I'm not a child. I'm not a child. I'm 1,000 years old. Yeah, go a bit raspy, a bit more goblin-y with it. This is a tale of a time long past when all the land was barren of life and no men walked upon it. The humanity of this era lived under the sea in a vast kingdom that spanned the ocean floor. These people were quite different from the way we are today. They had scales on their skin and webbed fingers and toes. What do you mean by webbed? Take a look at your own fingers. Do you see the little webs at the base? Picture those, but spanning the length of the finger. Seems like it would be kind of a nuisance. Sorry, go on. Among the sea people, the loveliest was the king's eldest daughter, Misu. Oh, that is cute. Look at that peace sign, hell yeah. She was everyone's idol, an unmatched beauty whose singing was said to be able to quell any discord. But this princess also had a reputation for being something of an eccentric. Nobody understood this better than her long-suffering childhood friend and the hero of many a song and story, Wata. It almost looks like Invader Lum. And I'm not just saying that because I'm currently watching the season's remake. You see, Misu was fascinated by that dry, desolate land above the water, and made no secret of it. She would spend hours sticking her head out of the water to gaze upon it, swimming all along the coastline to see as much of it as she could, her eyes shining with curiosity. Where Wata and the others only saw a bleak expanse of death, she saw an unexplored frontier. This strange behaviour was all well and good, until she went as far as leaving the water entirely, to perch on the rocks by the shore and sing under the blue sky. And if she had sounded très bien before, it was nothing compared to how beautiful her voice sounded now, as it echoed through the heavens. The sea people were all moved to tears, with the exception of the prudent Wata, who just couldn't shake the premonition that something bad was going to happen. One day, something bad happened. It had come from the darkness between the stars, a gigantic dragon, all made of star rock. This alien had heard Misu's song, even over the roar of its great stomach, empty from a long journey across the void, and had descended to investigate. It had come down many leagues inland, but such was the size of the brute that Wata could easily sight it from his low perspective in the water. Among the innumerable deeds to his name, many concerned the appearance of dragons. He knew enough about them to know that they were rarely up to any good. He resolved himself to confront it without delay. Taking up the trusty bone spear that had seen him through many a life-or-death battle, he swam to the surface. His thought was to make the trek overland, rather than wait for the dragon to reach the sea. Even though he'd been playing an away game. Never mind. Upon gaining the coast, Wata found Misu at her customary spot on the rocks. His first instinct was to scold her as he usually did, but this time something bade him hold his tongue. There was no singing to be heard today. The princess's profile was inscrutable as she observed at the distant form of the dragon, and she remained this way for some time before turning her gaze to meet Wata's. As so in the water, so on the land, but this journey I made with ease by my deeds for you will prove perilous. Contrition foxes the oracle with friction, but with my spear I shall strike the python of fear from thine breast. Wata countered Misu's verse with one of his own, then shook his dark head and muttered, "This won't take long, I'll be back soon." Misu smiled, first sadly and then brightly as the sunlight dancing over the water. "I'll be waiting here for your return." Despite himself, with taciturn, Wata returned her smile, and left the water with a great leap. He landed on his feet, then stumbled and fell, and so it was that man first set foot upon the earth. At first, Wata went on his hands and knees. It was hard going on the rough, hot sand, and it wasn't long before he was raw and bloody. The trail he left in his wake was littered with fallen scales. But he wasn't called a hero for nothing. He persevered and eventually got the hang of walking on two legs. Seemed like a good idea, in fact. It was such a good idea that we do the same to this day. It was high noon when he arrived at the edge of the dragon's shadow. He was weak and weary, but resolved to do what he must. "Hail, pilgrim," he cried, "what brings you to this land?" "I'm looking for something to eat," replied the dragon ponderously. "I'm ever so hungry. You look rather tasty, if a little insubstantial. Are there more of your kin in yonder ocean? I think I can manage about 5,000 of you." "I alone will be more than enough to sate your appetite, dragon," declared Wata, raising his spear. It was as he had suspected. The visitor only had foul designs for his people. The dragon sighed massively, whipping up a sandstorm with his merest exhalation, and swatted at Wata with tremendous forelimbs. Wata could only make a desperate thrust with his long spear. The blow struck true enough to break the dragon's skin and draw forth its boiling blood, but the spear broke, and it was a minor wound compared to the one he suffered in exchange, which was surely fatal. Wata lay on the sand in the pool of his life's blood, his soul fast submerging in despair. The memory of Misu's face and voice, which, though he hadn't realized it until this moment, had brought him this far, was growing indistinct in his mind's eye. He couldn't remember the last time he had sincerely praised her singing, and that regret hurt as much as his wound. He had just about resigned himself to his miserable fate when he noticed a glittering shape in the sand where the dragon spilled filled blood met his own. The dragon's molten blood had cooled and hardened into a strangely shaped, terribly sharp piece of metal, the world's first sword. Mustering the dregs of his courage, Wata took up the sword and clambered onto the dragon's great body. Up and up he climbed, and the dragon stomped around, trying to figure out where its snack had disappeared to. When he was atop the monster's head, he took the blade and thrust it in as far as it would go. The new weapon cut through the dragon's stony brow, as though it would butter and slew it. The dragon's gigantic body settled into the earth and, stirring no more, became a mountain. Wata lay upon the summit, dying of his injury. However, his strong wish to return home became the source of a river of his own blood, which ran down the dragon's body, along the long trail he had left in the sand and into the sea. Mitsu, true to her word, was there to welcome him, becoming the waves that crash against the shore and mingle with the river at its mouth. To this day, the vast gentle song of the waves on the shore remain a balm that can heal any troubled heart. It's a nice story. I like that one. Switch muttered some words in her mother tongue that sound like a prayer. I'm about to ask what they mean when Echo interjects. Mankind emerging from the sea, eh? What amusing fantasies you humans dream up. I'm not claiming this story to be a real historical event. It's a myth, an allegory. It has value beyond its factuality. Pish. I can tell you the true origin of humanity if you like. I have a feeling you're going to, whether I like it or not. Echo, blatantly ignoring Switch, clears her throat. Good idea. In the distant past, the great spirits who held dominion over the world created the first humans out of clay to function as their servants. Oh boy, here we go. I'm sure it's a low blow to your pride, but it's the truth. Somehow I was expecting something along these lines. With the exception of their ears, which were made round instead of pointed, in order to differentiate them from their masters, they created these servants in their own image. As such, the consummate craftsmanship that they could not help becoming enamored with their own creations. Alas, as a result of unfortunate unions that hence transpired, the divine spark of their being was mixed into the crude matter of the humans. Consequently, these mud people developed wills of their own and the ability to reproduce, and all the other stuff, though in the hands of the great spirits was good and proper, has enabled humans to become such a prolific nuisance. If you doubt me, how do you account for all the elfin people having a greater capacity for the divine language? They simply have more divinity in their being. Elfin people? Folks with pointed ears. Elves. Okay, and the divine language is magic, presumably? Yep. Well? You asked me how I account for it, but not like any of the elves I know are any good at magic. Or rather, it's more like there's nothing to suggest any correlation. Winnie knows almost everything, but she doesn't know the slightest bit of magic. To say nothing of that Roche, who was about as magical as a dead rat. Your sample size is too small. And, if you'll pardon my bluntness, it was our Switch's magic that caused the undoing back in your forest. I think you'll agree she has very round ears. Well said. It's simply not worth explaining to the myriad and complex circumstances behind my defeat, among which that crude martial spell was only the tiniest factor. I shall instead graciously concede the point. More pertinently, would you believe this nonsense about humans crawling out of the sea more? I can't say I believe it exactly, but that's beside the point. Switch wasn't claiming it as fact in the first place. If anything, I'm quite sure she took some creative liberties with it. Very astute, Otto. As a matter of fact, I did. The tales, for example. What tales? Exactly. In most popular versions of the myth, the sea people are portrayed with the lower bodies of fish or whales. In other words, all tail from the waist down. That seems like it would be even more of a nuisance than having webbed fingers. Right? It never sat well with me, even when I was a child. I was vindicated somewhat when I found out that the tail of a fish is not a homunculus with legs of a human. We actually have a little vestigial tail tucked away inside our bodies. What? It's true. So, with science backing my aesthetic sensibilities, I decided to portray the sea people with legs and webbed digits instead. A stroke of genius, if I do say so myself. You would take such liberties with the legendary matter of your people in the name of aesthetic sensibility. It's still in line with the principles of oral tradition. Stories are malleable, living things. And I guess I'm just a natural when it comes to storytelling. Switch folds her arms behind her head and leans back in the boat, with an astonishingly smug expression on her face. Eiko just can't compete when it comes to shameless boasting, it seems. She breaks off the conversation and begins flying around the boat in a slow circle, muttering. I've seen my fair share of naked humans, and I've never seen any damn tail. I suppose you would have with all those unfortunate unions you'd been engaging in. Eiko bristles like she's just been struck by lightning, and rounds on Switch, her delicate features set in a tiny, icy mask. Oh, there you are. You didn't recognize my capitulation for the act of generosity that it was. You obviously want to take a dip in the river. Try me, fairy. Eiko and Switch look set to continue their lively debate for this entire journey. I heave a sigh of abject resignation and look beyond them for some kind of salvation, only to notice we've been slowly approaching a mountain of our own. Faintly visible on the horizon is what must be a truly massive tower built of brilliant white stone. That must be the capital. The pair stop arguing and turn around to look. Real civilization at last, eh? Yep, and nothing says culture like a big fancy towers. It looks scary. I want to go back to Granny's. Ooh, switch back to Winnie. Bronwyn. Right, that's her name. I want to go home. Bronwyn. I'm here to play. Warriors. Here to play. Oh, what voice did I do for the beast? Why are you still in bed? If I'm asleep, I can pretend I'm somewhere other than here. Don't be like that. What do you want to do? What do you want to do within the walls of the palace? Well then, does this palace of yours have a library? Of course it does, but... I don't want you to spend all your time reading. I bet you've ruined your eyesight reading so many books. I'll stay in bed then. Ah, fine. We'll go to the library. Just get out of bed already. It's depressing me. Damn, it's an outfit. There's not much here. Most of it went up in flames along with the old palace during the little kerfuffle 10 years ago. All of this stuff is boring record keeping and the previous occupants' oriental mysticism nonsense. The previous occupant, King Darius? I'm fishing for a reaction, and I get one. The beast bristles at the mention of the name, and I flinch, feeling instinctively like she's about to strike me. She seems to master the violent impulse, but when she addresses me again, her tone is devoid of its usual flippancy. I would warn you not to speak that name in my presence. Even though you defeated him? I get it. You know, you're trying to make me angry on purpose. You're the one who said we should get to know each other better. That glib nature of yours was charming at first, but it's starting to wear a little thin. Suddenly, the beast approaches. I can't show her my back. I stumble away from her until I come up against a bookshelf, whereupon she bars my escape with an outstretched arm. Two dark amethysts set in the face of a pale chimera stare down at me. I return the look as best I can from my diminutive position. I won't release you if you get on my nerves too much, if that's what you're hoping for. I'll just punish you until you become more obedient. As she speaks, her reeking breath imposes itself upon my senses, making my eyes water. Have you been drinking? Isn't it rather early for that? I'm not trying to antagonize you this time, simply expressing concern for your well-being. You admit you were trying to annoy me. The beast straightens up and turns away from me, then paces back into the middle of the chamber. With a swish of her cape, she quickly turns to face me again. There is no joy in victory when your opponent is an inept pretender without the mandate of heaven. I beg your pardon, are we back to Eastern philosophy now? I'm talking about Darius, obviously. Don't make me say that vermin's name more than I must. I thought taking over this country would be the greatest victory of my life, but it turned out to be the most disappointing. To be quite candid with you, I've since lost all my enthusiasm for military campaigns. I'm at a loss as to what to do with the rest of my life. Assembling a harem of the world's premier beauties and cuties is good fun and all, but since it won't be producing any heirs, it can only ultimately serve as an oasis for my heart. And I don't think I'm the type of person who can make their love raison d'être. I could drop everything and go back to being the terror of the steppes, but that seems outright regressive now that I have a whole country to play with. It would be a waste. To play with, you say? Perhaps you would try your hand on statecraft? Serious suggestions only, please, Bronwyn. I was being serious. From what I gather, King Darius was rather poor statesman. What better way to win a true victory over him than to rule his country more ably than he did? You are obsessed. I'll hear no more talk of that man from you, or so help me. If you absolutely must concern yourself with those that are dead and buried, you're in the right place. Read of their foolish lives until your eyes bleed for all I care. I myself have no interest in this dusty old crypt, so I'll take my leave of you for now. When you are quite satisfied and willing to behave more agreeably, the guard will escort you back. Just like that, she turns and leaves. I flush a little with embarrassment when I notice one of the harem guards has been mutely observing our whole exchange. It's weird to bring up the mandate of heaven, especially in something so western looking. Big beer. Big fire? Beer? Beer. I'll go with beer. Byron. Byron. That's pronounced Byron. The kingdom's called Byron. Byre. Okay, we'll go with Byre. Big Byre, the capital of the kingdom of Byron. Where I have apparently been living my whole life. Might as well be a city on the moon for all I can compare it to my little village in the valley. The huge buildings are packed together, side by side, end to end, one on top of the other, and the streets and alleyways that run between them like cracks in a dry lake bed are thronging with innumerable men and women of every race and walk of life. I've never seen so many people, nor heard so many voices speaking so many different tongues. It's too much to take in. How does one hold on to their own wits in such an environment? It's hot, stifling even. It doesn't feel like there's enough fresh air. It's hard to breathe properly. A fist thumps into my upper arm. I turn to Switch, who seems quite at ease amongst this tumult. My doubtlessly typical reaction must be the source of great amusement for her. There's no use making a calf led to market face like that, Otto. This is nothing compared to the great sook back home. I don't see how that's possible. Well, if the rumors are to be believed, we even get visitors from other planets. Other planets, you say? Yes. I'm having a hard time getting to grips with the sheer variety and quantity of my fellow man, and now you're telling me there are folk from other stars going about their business on our world as well. They aren't allowed to just come out and see it, but in the past I've taken on some strange jobs that... Actually, I probably shouldn't be talking about it. And on that subject, I'm going to head over to the local branch and make some reports. You two ought to stick with me so you don't get lost. We're not children. I'm curious about what the guild is like, but I think I prefer to walk around a bit after all that sculling. Besides, the sooner I acclimate myself to this place, the better. You two are going to get eaten alive. Well, no matter, your role as pack mule is essentially over for now anyways. Let's say you're on information gathering duty. If you don't meet with a terrible fate, we'll convene at sundown in that tavern next to the guild hall and compare notes. Switch takes her leave of us with a jaunty salute and strides over to an impressive looking building that stands out among the others in the square. The sign hanging above the entrance depicts a gaily dressed harlequin brandishing a sword in his left hand and a lantern in his right, and his feet on either side of a river. Thank you for streaming. Oh, well, thank you for making this game. It's really fun. I'm really enjoying it so far. She's small, but easy enough to spot, hovering around something I can't see for the steady current of people passing before me. I clumsily push my way over to where she is, indeed feeling as though I'm attempting to ford a fast-flowing river. My ineptitude at navigating crowds must be another of many things making me a country boy. When I finally escape, I find her admiring the wares of a street peddler, sat cross-legged on a woven mat with his wares spread out before him. Specifically, she seems fascinated by an amulet of smooth orange stone, tied up with a leather strap. This is amber, isn't it? That's right, you obviously know your resins, little lady. And this here is the good stuff, rare and ancient, full of magical power. Yes, I can feel it. Otto, let's put some of that gold to good use. Magical power? What's with that dubious look, human? I know what I'm talking about. Not entirely sure I trust Echo's appraisal, but this peddler might be a good person to canvass for information. You know what? I'll take it. How many gold pieces? Pieces? Just one of those will be plenty, brother. Go ahead and pick something for that saucy foreign sort you were here with as well. Eh? Really? Go on, I'll be robbing you otherwise. How much is gold worth, you country bumpkin? I take a closer look at the array of items on the mat, but there's not much in the way of the showy gold stuff set with jewels that Switch seems to be fond of. I pick up a bracelet of carved off-white beads. Looking closely at the carvings, they seem to be some kind of text. Your friend is from Casper? How did you know? You have a good eye as well, brother. These are ancient Casperian prayer beads. Carved elder dragon bone. Elder dragon bone? Really? Good grief, I'm I swear nobody grills me harder than you country types. Do I really look that untrustworthy? Sorry. Let me tell you, there is more to this occupation than mere pursuit of profit. Come round here and sit next to me. Okay. I do as the peddler suggests, and after a moment he skillfully catches the attention of a well-to-do lady and her maid passing by. They bend down curiously to inspect his wares, and out of the corner of my eye I noticed him leering down their ample cleavages with a lascivious expression on his face. Yeah. More than profit, huh? Don't become a tiresome person who can't stop and smell the flowers grown by the roadside, brother. Oh, how cute! The two women seemed to be paying more attention to Echo than the hungry dog staring down their blouses. What a delightful creature. Is she for sale as well? The lady reaches out a hand towards her, and then withdraws it with a shriek. In a flash of movement, Echo has bit her on the finger, and retreated back behind my head, hissing like an angry cat. The lady, who had fallen on her backside, scrambles hastily to her feet with a scandalized expression on her face. You, if that's your pet, you ought to keep it under control. Who the fuck are you calling a little pet? Missus, it would be beneath your dignity to make a scene over this. Ow. Impertinent little girl. You're 10 years too early to be advising me on what is and isn't dignified. With all those wrinkles, I'm shocked you're only 10 years older. Echo. You're in trouble now, brother. This is a waste of time. I'll grant you some lenience, boy. You're obviously just rolled in on the last hay cart. I don't know the way things work around, and don't know the way things work around here. But next time I see you, you had better have that thing on a leash. Echo makes an obscene gesture, which the lady mercifully doesn't seem to notice. Come along, girl. We're leaving. Yes, Mrs. As the lady bustles away, the girl in glasses gives us an apologetic smile before hurrying along behind her. After they've disappeared into the crowd, I feel Echo's hard little fingers slacken their grasp on my hair. Sorry about that, Mr. Peddler. It's okay, I understand. The last person who tried to buy me got a lot worse than a nip on the finger. Well, you're getting a sale from me at any rate. I'll take the amber amulet. Don't worry about those carved beads though. She and I don't have that sort of relationship. Really? Well, if you're sure. Pleasure doing business with you. One more thing, since you seem like you might have an interest. What is it, brother? Can you tell me where I can find more women with big boobs? You don't beat around the bush, do you? I knew you were a fellow man of culture the moment I saw you. The peddler names a number of businesses that don't require much imagination to guess the brothels. Our investigation of these establishments leads Echo and I on a tour of the city's entertainment quarter. Finally found a use for the gold at least. Here the streets are narrower, flanked on either side by galleries of painted faces, some scintillating with energy and mystery, others borne as if they were heavy burdens by tired bodies. There are obvious neophytes with an uneasiness about them that mirrors my own, as if they don't understand what they're doing here, existentially speaking, that is. It could be an act. There are as many theatres as there are bordellos, though they can be difficult to differentiate at first blush. It's a place unlike I've ever seen before, but then the same could be said of almost anywhere. What I am intimating is that nothing here is lighting within me the flames of desire as it seems to be trying to. I am, however, nurturing a growing irritation with the swarms of touts buzzing around the streets like so many blood-sucking insects. I would fancy putting the muscles I've developed from years of honest toil work, maybe beat some manners into them. In any case, this place is a trap for beasts of heavier set than my own. Having come to this conclusion, I no longer feel uneasy. How interesting. A savage jungle where herbivores prey on the carnivores. What does that make me? Ah, here's one, Otto. Oh, yeah. I slackened the hands I had been unconsciously forming into fists, and put my palm against the door of the Queen Bee, the last of the establishments the peddler recommended. Without any pushing on it, the door suddenly slams open, and a red-faced man comes barreling out, shoving me aside as he goes. From back inside comes the sound of bare feet running away, and a similarly red-faced girl appears at the doorway. Mister, please wait, mister. I didn't think it was that strange looking. I was just a bit surprised. The girl looks familiar, actually. Now that I've taken a good look at her, she looks a lot like Bronwyn. I'm taken back. Oh no, he's gone. The girl slumps her head and shoulders in resignation, and then, noticing me, looks up. You are... She tilts her head in a gesture of curiosity, and her glasses slip a little down her nose. Oh, cute. She looks as though she's a few years older than my sister, but her manner has guileless innocence to it that makes her seem younger. You're a customer? No, I'm not. I'm not here to, I'm feeling nervous again. What is a girl like this doing in such a place? Maybe Ray underestimated the mysterious power of the entertainment quarter. Maybe there's a special snare for everybody here. Before I can explain, and I feel as though I must, I hear more footsteps coming from inside. This time it's the tap-tap-tap of high-heeled shoes that seem to be in fashion behind the woman of the city. Just now, that was... The owner of the high-heeled shoes is familiar as well, but she doesn't take the slightest notice of me. She rounds on the barefoot girl. Again, you've... Her hand flies up in a blur and strikes the girl's face, sending her staggering into the street. I've had enough of your prudish attitude. You're not worth the cost of keeping me if you won't do what the customers want. I'm sorry. Forgive me. Don't take me for a fool. Hey, I don't think you should. You can stay out of this, fairy boy. The woman steps past me onto the streets and grabs the fallen girl by the hair. She pulls her up and brings their faces close together. I've accepted your apologies before, but they were nothing but empty words, weren't they? That weren't they? It is as you say. Yes, well, even someone as soft-hearted as me will need something more substantial than just words after having had their trust betrayed so many times. I've got it. Why don't you put on a little show right here in the street? Eh? A show, a performance, a public display. Don't make that stupid face like you don't understand, or I really will get angry. I won't tell you what to do. You're going to have to use your imagination. The lady utters these unbelievably cruel words to the crying girl and pushes her into the middle of the crowd. By now, every pair of eyes is on her. She looks like a startled deer with nowhere to run. The men are making catcalls and whistling, and the other woman's eyes are dull with a look that evokes a master's weary dismays at the clumsy apprentice. Let's go, Otto. This is none of our business. It's just the way humans are. Go on, show me. Show everyone here how willing, how shameless you are. Go on. Otto? Stop it. Are you still here? If you don't want to watch, clear off. I can't just turn my back and pretend not to see while you do these horrible things. Oh, I'm slipping into the wrong voices. In response to my quite reasonable indignation, I'm showered with a barrage of insults and jeers from the crowd. Someone throws a bottle at me. They miss, but I think the point was made. Just what the hell is wrong with these people? Am I the crazy one here? There's a lot of characters in this game. Yeah, this is surprising. I'll have you removed. I'll have you removed if you insist on obstructing my business. Business? What kind of business is this? It's nothing but bullying. The woman sighs and signals with her eyes to two large men who, hitherto idly playing cards in the alley next to the building. They leisurely get to their feet and approach me, cracking their knuckles and necks too, friendly smiles on their faces. Come on then, remove me. Oh brother, what am I saying? I really am the crazy one here. One removal coming up. For no reason I can discern, the smiles disappear from the men's faces, and the crowd falls silent with a gasp. The stillness depends upon the tableau, as though time has stopped. Why are you looking at me like that? I was trying to help you. Echo's hands grasp my ears and pulls me in the direction of the opposite alley. Get the lead out, idiot. We're leaving. I stumble along after her, too confused to resist. Behind me, the crowd flies into an uproar. What's going on? What just happened? Heh. Echo smirks and dangles the amber in front of my face. I told you I know my stuff. Whoa, you turned us invisible with magic. Well, something like that. Amazing. You're amazing, Echo. Yeah, you can praise me more if you like. We have to go back and help that girl, though. I make to go back the way we came, but Echo grabs my ear again and pulls it in the opposite direction until I relent. Ow! Will you stop doing that? What's the big idea? Just forget about it, Otto. But... Hey, listen. That person was not your sister. Even so, traveller, if you follow every fork in the road, you'll die before you reach your goal. Don't feed me platitudes. Fine, we can do this the hard way if you want, but now that I have magic again, there's no way you'll find your way out of this alleyway if I don't want you to. Distortions and illusions are my specialty, as you know. The sun is hanging low in the sky by the time I've finished, impotently gnashing my teeth and emerge from the alleyway. I'm feeling sullen as we make our way back to the meeting point through the streets that are still as busy at this late hour as they were when we arrived. I can't get used to this place. There's too much coarse laughter, too many raised voices, poverty and prosperity all rolled together. Just too much of everything. It's overflowing with life and hastening to death. There's no place for a stocked wheel like me here. Hey friend. I'm drawn out of my musings by a suspicious-looking fellow who seems to be addressing me. Yes, you. I overheard you saying you were looking for busty babes. This is great. I'm not even in the entertainment quarter anymore, yet I'm still getting hassled by these tedious pimps. Unlike the others I encountered, I don't think I would win the resulting fight if I decided to slug him in the face either. He's about half a head taller than me, and unusually well built under his gaudy clothes for someone who lives off women. Whether or not I'd win this fight should be beside the point in cases like this, but when it comes down to it, I guess I'm as cowardly as everyone else. What was I trying to prove, playing the hero back there? I'm certainly indulging in self-pity, but I can easily frame this problem in practical terms. That is to say, do I have what it takes to rescue Winnie? Yeah, that's right. Busty babes. Yep, I'm all about those big old titties. I mutter these stupid meaningless replies while my mind, as if trying to escape, drifts towards the subject of tonight's dinner. With all the gold we're carrying, we'll be able to eat and drink like kings. Why not? You're in luck then. Our average bust is the biggest around. Whoever it is you're looking for, we've got them. What? Is this guy still here? Huh? No. Not whatever, but whoever. He's put a strange emphasis on that choice of words. Let's go, Otto. I think you've visited enough brothels today. You look tired. Lead the way, friend. The man ducks down an alley, and I follow him obediently, leaving common sense back in the street. Yes. Isn't this a rather bad idea? Am I about to get a knife pulled on me again? Just as I'm about to turn tail and run, the man turns first. His aspect has changed somewhat, but not for the worse. I have the sudden impression that he isn't a pimp at all, but is, in fact, an honest man disguised as a pimp. Yes, it's a good thing I found you here. He claps a heavy hand on my shoulder. Friend, you've got about as much guile as a sack of potatoes. I'm guessing you're not a pro. A pro what? An adventurer, not one of the cities, obviously. Huh? What's wrong with the city's adventurers? I have to start from there. The guild here is corrupt. They're in the beast's pocket. Ah, a friend went to the guild. That's not good. We should hurry. Come on. The man sets off down the alley again with a hustle on. I'm about to follow when Echo grabs my ear again. Wait, wait, wait. Ow! Stop following the strange man. Stop pulling my bloody ear. What's the hold up? Just who are you, exactly? The man sticks his thumb up and flashes a roguish grin. A bosun buddy. Thankfully, Switch does not prove hard to find. She's standing just outside the guild hall, the failing light catching on the facets of her gleaming red armor. Otto, you're back early. What do you think of my new gear? Nice, right? New? How is it any different from... never mind that. You're their friend? You're their friend? Eh? We ought to make ourselves scarce. Follow me. We follow the man along the winding rabbit warren of a route to a little tavern deep within the shadow of the gigantic tower. He guides us around to the back entrance of the establishment, up and away from the noises of rowdiness and revelry coming from the bar, to a sparsely furnished but rather agreeable private room on the first floor. The man, who introduces himself as Faber, fills Switch in on the situation within the city's guild. So it's like that, is it? It seems as though I place too much faith in the integrity of the Adventurers Guild. It's nothing more than a kennel for the beast's dogs. There's spies on the streets as well. So, one way or the other, the Crown knows why we're here. They really are the ones behind these kidnappings, then. It's more accurate to say that the beast herself is the one responsible. What do you mean by that? While she is the de facto ruler of this country, she's not actually the reigning monarch, as she's yet to be officially coronated. But I risk digressing from the main point. Collecting women seems to be a hobby of hers. A hobby? I don't want to imagine. You are growing people into a tree. Whether it's man or woman, you humans are all as bad as each other. When he is in the palace, then. I walk over to the window and gaze out at the tower. I have to crane my neck to see the top. How do we get in there? Hold on there, friend. Your sister isn't the only one we need to rescue. This isn't going to be an easy job. I hadn't thought of that. Just how many women are there in this collection? At least 10. Someone you know in there too? Yeah, my girl is in there. It's making me sick with worry. She's a real crybaby. I shudder to think what that despot is doing to her. A heavy silence hangs over the room. I'm ashamed to admit it now, but I actually fought on the beast's side in the war last year. We thought she would make things better for those of us in the northern province, but nothing's changed. All that blood was spilled for absolutely nothing. Darkness has fallen over the city. My companions have left to pursue their own affairs. I remain in our base of operations, still seated at the table, my mind heavy with serious musings as I stare at the collection of maps and blueprints of the palace and environs that Faber provided. They seem rather comprehensive. Just where did he get these? You're still here. Are those maps so interesting? Very interesting. Echo drifts over to me and touches down on the table, looking like a doll standing on the floor plan of a doll-sized house. I consider the little fairy. She came all this way because she feels indebted to me. Is that it? Compared to Switch, who actually has her obligations to the guild, or whoever it is she's actually working for, and Faber, who seems intent on rescuing everyone. Echo is the one most likely to go along with the notion I've been gestating in my brain. Although I'm not exactly sure what it is yet, I'm hesitating to look directly at it. I don't think it's going to be possible to rescue everyone the beast has kidnapped. It seems like a tall order. To be quite honest, I'm only interested in getting Winnie back. As soon as I say it, it becomes clear in my mind. I feel bad for Faber, but he shouldn't be trying to rescue anyone except his girl anyway. What's wrong with only trying to protect what you can? Why overreach and lose everything? You've taken what I've told you this afternoon to heart. It's important to be realistic. What do you have in mind, Otto? I want you to do me a favor. So, in short, you're asking me to go right into the lion's mouth, alone. You're the best one for the job. You said you wanted to make yourself useful. Here's your chance. If you can communicate my intent to Winnie and escort her outside, then rescuing her will be that much easier. I suppose this is one way I can repay my debt. What does your sister look like anyway? Well, she's got big boobs. They've all got big boobs. Soft thighs. Just what kind of relationship do you two have? Actually, I don't want to know. Give me something more specific. Pointy ears? They're not as pointy as yours, though. What a weird thing to be smug about. She normally wears glasses. Her eyesight is terrible. What else? Oh, she's got really big... You already told me about her boobs. Yeah. Really big... Yeah. Okay, I think I have enough to work with. Let's rock. Echo takes off into the warm night air, tiny against the massive shape of the tower. I'm about to see my own mission when a hand grabs... I'm about to see to my own mission when a hand grabs my shoulder. A thrill of guilt runs down my spine. It must be Faber or Switch. But what do I have to feel guilty about? Just what are you playing at? Shh! Keep your voice down. Switch brings her voice down to a whisper, but her tone is still harsh and accusatory. You're sneaking off to rescue your sister. On your own, aren't you? That's why I came here in the first place. I'm not some heroic adventurer like you. I can't save everyone. That self-serving pragmatism would serve you well as a certain type of adventurer. You don't have to come along. I set off on this journey alone, and I can finish it alone as well. What's gotten into you? I don't have time to indulge in some kind of harebrained harem heist. Faber may be okay with twiddling his thumbs while some scoundrel does this and that to his family, but not me. Cool your head a bit. What would have happened what would have happened to you if I had just sat down and had a good think when you were captured by those monsters in the forest, eh? Switch's cheeks colour a little. That is a dirty move to use. Keep your voice down, you cheeky brat. Listen, things may have worked out well that time, but 99% of the time, rushing headlong into trouble without a plan will just end up getting you killed. It's not like I don't have a plan. I'm going to get inside the palace grounds through that secret passage Faber showed us, and, in the meantime, Echo is going to find Winnie and guide her past the guards to my location. Guide her past the guards how, exactly? She can conceal her with magic. That's so ridiculous. You weren't there when we... Never mind. After that, we're going to head over to the Dragon's Roost and steal us a dragon. Have you ever ridden a dragon? I don't have time to explain every detail to you. I'm out of here. Things to do. Wait, you idiot! I limp into the night with Switch hot on my heels and cursing me out. The entrance to the secret passage is located in an alley running alongside the aptly named public house, The Runaway Princess. Though, if this moniker is indication, it may be more appropriate to consider this the exit rather than the entrance. Locating in the darkness the loose flagstone mentioned on the map is proving to be difficult. I looked to Switch, who was leaning against the wall of the pub with her arms folded. A full moon tonight, huh? Are you going to help me, or what? Help you? You're lucky I'm not dragging you back by your small hairs. Ah, here it is. Heave ho! One more time. Heave ho! Ah, I guess this isn't it after all. Oh, for goodness sake. With Switch's begrudging assistance, we eventually locate the correct flagstone and shift it aside, revealing a neat square of deeper darkness in the floor of the alley. Ah, this is it. Thanks, Switch. Wait, don't just run off on your own again. Huh? You're gonna come with me? An idiot like you needs my help more than a sensible chap like Faber. Well, with me on your side, the stupid risk of yours has at least some chance of working out. Inside the passage is no wider than the entrance. I have to squeeze my shoulder together to fit. It really is princess-sized. Feeling a little claustrophobic? I shrug off Switch's provocations and shuffle awkwardly into the darkness. Hey, we're back to Winnie. I've been gradually straining my eyes against the fading light for some time before I realize night has fallen. Speaking of night falling, it's still sunny outside. Tempus Fugit. I've been reading all day. It's not a luxury I could afford back in the valley, but I'm not in the slightest bit happy about it. I take off my glasses and massage the bridge of my nose. If Otto were here, he would definitely scold me. No, that's not the voice. If Otto were here, he would definitely scold me. I'll figure it out. For want of somewhere to rest my sore eyes, I look out at the blurry night sky. The moon is full. It gives off an impression of heaviness and self-importance. Only a scant few stars are brave enough to share the stage with it. My eyes must be playing tricks on me. One of the stars seems to be moving around. Put my glasses back on and squint at the sky. Nothing there. Ah! The thing that appeared at the window, it looks like a fairy, puts her fingers to her lips and dips out of sight. The guard, who must have been dutifully standing sentry at the entrance this whole time, appears from around the corner of the alcove where I've been reading. He stares down at me and then looks around the alcove. I'm sorry, it's nothing. I just stubbed my toe in the dark. He scrutinizes me one more time and then saunters back out of sight. The tiny winged girl appears in the windows once again. She didn't actually hide, but in fact turned invisible. You're Bronwyn? I am, and who might you be? I'm Echo. Otto sent me. Otto did? He asked me to guide you outside the palace. Otto asked you to... But why is... This must be a dream, but if I say that out loud, I'll surely wake up. Love that little transition. It's so cute. Switch and I continue our trudge through the darkness. As I'm beginning to wonder how much longer it will take, the bump up against what I quickly surmise to be the far end of the passage. This must be the place. Back up a bit, I can't lift my arms. Hey, be careful where you put your hands. Soft. Push hard against the stone ceiling until it gives way, flooding the passage with light. For a brief moment I worry that we've emerged in a inhabited area, but it's only the light of the moon, made bright by constant contrast with the absolute darkness of the passage. I brace my feet against the walls of the passage and peer furtively around topside. As the schematic detailed, our trip through the passage has brought us to the depths of the expansive gardens within the tower's perimeter wall. The sole inhabitants of this secluded place are worn-down statues of the hunting goddess, with said statues cleverly concealing the passage's entrance. In the silver moonlight, this lonely goddess's domain looks like the kingdom of fairies. The coast is clear, Switch. We're well tucked away. This is going way too smoothly. There's going to be a catch, Otto. Now we just wait for Echo and Winnie. For how long? What if they don't show up? Let's believe in Echo. I seriously have no idea how you came up with this notion that Echo is trustworthy. Follow your words, ye of meagre faith. I'm a little startled myself, even though I knew what to expect. Appearing in the orchard as if by magic, a figure of speech, since it really is magic, in fittingly fantastic attire is Bronwyn. Nestled in her voluptuous hair is a very smug-looking fairy. Otto, it really is you. Winnie. Casting aside my reserve, I embraced my beloved sister. She's soft and warm, and she smells good. She's exactly as I remembered her. Tears are coming to my eyes, but I'm too happy to care. I'm so happy I found you. Come now, Otto, we've been apart for less than 3 days. There's no need to lose your composure. Oh, it's not long before we're both reduced to a single blubbering mess. I'm starting to wonder if Otto has some kind of sister complex. What's the matter? Are you feeling jealous? By the way, I hope you're not counting on any more magic for the time being. I'm pretty much spent. That's okay, Echo. You've done a great job. I cannot thank you enough. It's too early to relax and start patting one another on the back. We're still in the belly of the beast, so to speak. Switch is right, it's too early to relax. I may have made a lot of big talk, but the next step of my daring escape plan is fraught with uncertainty. I reluctantly part from Bronwyn, and we get back to our feet. If this is simply a matter of leaving via the secret passage, why did you come here in person? It's not to say I'm not happy to see you, of course. Who wants to steal a dragon? Eh? Otto, do you know how to ride a dragon? He couldn't answer me either. Leaving the way we came in won't get us out of the city, and we won't be safe once they realize you're gone. Let's assume that will happen sooner rather than later. You still think you'll be safe outside the city, once the beast is searching for you? I'll think of something. Switch gives a sigh of exasperation. I'll throw you a bone here, Otto. If this preposterous scheme of yours somehow works, and we manage to escape, I can call in some favours and bring you and your sister to Casper. The beast won't be able to get at you so easily there. You'd do that? Yeah, I'm going to cut my losses with this mission. If a recognized country's sovereign, even a de facto one, is involved, it's not a situation that can be resolved by swinging a sword around. I've confirmed that the beast is the responsible party. That will be enough to satisfy my employer. Your employer? Who would that be? A voice, flat and toneless, but with a commanding resonance cuts smoothly into our conversation. Maybe I should go for like a Batman voice for this. In the darkness at the edge of the trees is something of a deeper darkness still. It's rather rude of you to just butt in like that. How about you step out of the shadows and introduce yourself? Don't be scared, we don't bite. If you insist. The figure takes a single step out of the shadows, and the moonlight strikes dully on a suit of black armor. I have no doubt that's the man we've been chasing after. Bronwyn takes hold of my hand and squeezes it as hard as she can. Can't tell how she's feeling right now, so I simply squeeze back. There's not much of an improvement, really. I can only apologize. Well now, going by your unfortunate taste in armor, you must be the infamous Black Knight, the topic of many a rumor of late. I'm ashamed to admit it, but I failed to get a good look at you during our previous encounter. Previous encounter? Well, no matter. Glad as you are, you would do well not to judge others by their attire so readily. I must ask you, with the exception of our legitimate guest, to leave by the same means you arrived. On whose authority, exactly? You still haven't properly introduced yourself. For me to do so would make your life forfeit. You and I are both warriors. My friend came all this way risking his life as well. I'm quite happy to leave, but I will be with your legitimate guest. A strange sound that could be a small laugh emerges from the depths of his dark armor. Very well. Good evening, trespassers. I am the master of this tower, a nameless beast. You... So the Black Knight and the mysterious beast are the one and the same, eh? That's good. I'm all for keeping things simple. My pleasure. My pleasure. The tall young woman who emerged from the armor of the Black Knight, my enemy, the beast, bows slightly. In contrast to her stoic, unreadable alter ego, she cuts a rather flamboyant, theatrical figure that borders on the ridiculous. This is nothing more than a superficial impression, however. It's as if she's simply cast off one manufactured persona and donned another. Bronwyn, follow the guard back inside. Her tone is light and casual, but the consequent appearance at the edge of the clearing of a silent, unarmed soldier lends weight and authority to her utterance. I forcibly quashed down the fresh fear I hadn't realized had been imperceptibly stealing into me until this moment. Winnie is coming with me. The beast glances at me with an expression of mild surprise, as if she's only just noticed that I'm there. Is she now? My real family has come to get me. Please let me go. A real family. Winnie is indispensable to us. To me. It's probably the same for everyone else you kidnapped. Why have you been doing this? Why? The beast seemed somewhat puzzled by this question I suddenly posed, not entirely sure why I asked it myself. I left you proportionate compensation. The response after a short pause seems like an evasion, or an excuse, strangely timid for such a bold character. Character, yes. I've gone off script and left my partner in this scene at a loss. That's the feeling I'm getting. You're referring to the gold? Switch, picking up on this flicker of weakness in a fellow predator, gives a scornful laugh. Is that your idea of domestic policy? She's right, you can't just throw money at problems and expect them to disappear. Look, a problem has followed you all this way. The beast rolls her eyes and sighs. Do you know the value of that quantity of gold? I don't have the faintest idea. We don't have much of an economy up in the valley. And? Am I to be held responsible for your ignorance? You kidnapped our teacher, so... Let me tell you, boy, You could build yourself a splendid school with that much gold. Because the infrastructure isn't there, the gold is worthless. What do you mean, exactly? What? You must have flown over that cursed forest on your way to our village. The one that was trapping us all in the valley? I don't know. I was flying pretty high. If you weren't so complacent, it might have bothered you a little, and you might have sent somebody to investigate it. But I don't think you did. It can be arranged. I would not want to have you come all this way for nothing. It's too late for that. We found a solution ourselves. Just what would you ask of me then? Haven't you been listening to a word I've been saying? I unfastened the bag of gold from my waist and tossed it at the beast's feet. I don't want anything. I don't want anything from you. I only came here for my sister. So I'll return this. The beast picks up the bag and weighs it in her palm. You made all that big talk, but you still managed to spend some. We can return that part. With interest. At the sight of Switch's steel, some enthusiasm comes into the beast's sneering, dismissive expression. Good! Rather than a boring, fruitless argument with some ignorant peasant, I'd much prefer to cross swords with a beautiful foreign spy. Where is your sword, but anyway? Are you going to snap your fingers and summon the golden-haired page boy who carries it around for you? Oh, that would be very regal, wouldn't it? Ah, how cool. But know this, girl, there is something of which even the lowliest of mongrels can boast. That is never far from its fangs. The beast lunges forward, drawing the dark blade that suddenly appeared at her hip and bringing it down on Switch in the same motion. The sheer reckless violence with which she occupies the space where her opponent had been standing is enough to make me flinch. To say nothing of that eerie sword, a coal-black blade that reflects no moonlight. Looking at it, or rather looking into it, I feel a strange sense of relief at being unarmed. I suppose this feeling must be cowardice. Switch evades the assault with adept composure, but is forced onto her back foot. Get out of here, Otto. Stick to your plan. Get out of here. I can't just leave you behind. Unlike you, I can take care of myself. So wipe that dopey look off your face and get moving. Her chastisement doesn't make it as far as my logical faculties. My senses are overwhelmed by the spectacle of the fierce, beautiful duelists. In contrast to Switch's smooth flowing movements and dance-like footwork, the beast's swordplay is aggressive and unrefined, and punctuated with shouts and curses. Unfortunately, it seems to be working in her favour. After seizing the initiative with her first attack, she hasn't let up the pressure even once, and Switch is stuck on the defensive. The cacophony of clashing steel comes to a halt as they lock blades. Then, with a savage howl, the beast forces Switch's weapon down and punches her in the face. Kia! Switch! Switch buckles, but lashes out with her sword and scores a deep cut on the beast's upper arm. She gives a yelp of pain and staggers back, clutching the wound. Switch deftly gets to her feet and wipes away the blood running from her cut lip. A Casparian sacred sword, is it? It has quite a bite. That pain you're feeling is the wickedness in your own heart, you home-wrecking crook. Heh, I won't deny it, this dun blade of mine blackens my very soul, but it also serves to shield me from that bitter truth. The beast straightens out of her low stance and holds her ominous sword before her. From her throat issues a harsh, guttural chant. The darkness that cloaks the sword seems to overflow and spill over her body like tar, before congealing into the suit of black armor. Do you think you can keep up with me, wearing all of that? Ooh, still fast. Kia! The bulky armor and the wound she received do nothing to limit the beast's ferocity as she throws herself back into battle with Switch. I can see my friend wincing under the weight of the blows, barely keeping hold of her weapon. The clearing echoes with clash of blades and the scuffling of feet, but every impact seems to sap away at her strength and feed our enemy's vigour. It's too late to run. At some point the single guard was joined by many others. We're trapped within the clearing, like lambs sharing a cage with a hungry wolf. With my attention momentarily distracted, I missed the play of the beast that sends Switch's sword spinning high into the air. It seems to hang in the sky for a moment, like a second moon, before thudding point first into the grass. Is that it? I'm disappointed. I'd heard that the soldiery of Casper have no equal when it comes to swordplay, but I suppose there would have to be plenty of second-rate hacks as well. The black armor melts away as if it were nothing more than the shadows cast by the trees. The moment the beast's slender figure reappears, Switch flies at her with a thin blade she must have concealed within her gauntlet. The beast is unimpressed and counters by swiftly sinking her knee into Switch's abdomen. Mortal dread rears up inside me at the thought, as though it would leap from my throat like vomit. Switch falls to her knees, and the beast's gloved hand roughly grasps her jaw and tilts her face into the light. Now that I look at you more closely, you aren't all that beautiful either. She drops Switch as though she were a boring toy that no longer amuses her, and only now do the guards rush in to restrain us. I make no attempt to resist the strong hands force me down onto the dirt and bind my wrists behind my back. Well, that's that. What do you think, Bronwyn? Execution or the dungeon? I know I said I would kill them, but I'm feeling kind of whatever now, you know? Please, just let them go. Let them go? This treasonous, this foreign intriguer, what sort of sovereign would that make me? Ah, but I'd like nothing more than to do as you ask. How my heart aches! And that's why I'm letting you choose. Execution or the dungeon? The dungeon. I'm still learning. Still leaning a bit. Yeah. I'm still leaning a bit more towards execution myself. Please send them to the dungeon. Oh, okay. You win. I can't resist you if you ask me so cutely. Switch and I are hauled to our feet and dragged inside the palace through a rear entrance. We stumble along, trapped between the implacable armoured forms of the guards, towards what must be the very centre of the palace, a great round chamber, host to nothing but a great round pit. Our clothes are roughly pulled from our bodies, everything is taken away, and we're cast naked and screaming into the pitch black abyss. Getting reminded of the Umineko goat mouth it always played. It's a silly thing to be reminded of. I've been left behind. Yes, lol. I don't know how it happened, but I'm alone now. That's all I know. Where am I? Quite a bit of Umineko influence. Is that with the sword, I guess, sprites? Reminds me of like the blue truth and red truth crossing blades. We're still in the water. Sunlight is shining down on me. This is strange because I was... yeah, directing in general. Okay. Why should it be strange that the sun is shining? Why should it be strange that I'm in the water? I can't swim properly. I can barely resist even this gentle current. I must have been injured. But when? I was swimming, of course. Swimming up the river, boldly defying the current, with the rest of the school, brothers and sisters united in form and purpose. Then I suppose I must have crashed into something and suffered an injury. Unable to swim, unable to maintain my form, unable to fulfill my purpose, I was left behind. There were others who were left behind before now, but I had never given them any thought. Was it the will of the school that I should be left behind, or was it simply the natural result of being unable to swim? At least I wasn't caught by a predator. I'm still alive. I can find things to eat, regain my strength, and rejoin my peers. It's not too late. Here's a tasty little morsel already. Things are looking up. There's a small metal barb concealed within this grub. In my haste, I've committed a serious blunder. The line to which the barb is attached goes taut, and I'm pulled upwards by my stinging lip. I break the surface of the water, and unfiltered sunlight scorches my eyes. What the? Wasn't expecting to catch one of these here. The human who caught me seems to be surprised. Check it out, Reen. Isn't he something? Reen? Renee? Reen. Go with Reen. She turns and proudly shows me off to a companion, a small and weary looking fry who barely glances up from the fire as she is hitherto listlessly staring into. Not impressed, huh? Well, just you wait. I'll show you what I can do with a handsome fellow like this. Humans, unique among the predators, have been known to make sport of catching fish, only to release us afterwards, and I feel a moment of hope when my captor brings me back to the water's edge. However, she instead produces a small blade and neatly cuts my stomach open. My red entrails are all that return to the water. Shortly thereafter, I die. I'm rinsed out, unceremoniously skewered on a stick, and propped up over the flames of a fire. In what would otherwise be an unbearable heat, my skin gradually stiffens and loses cohesion with my flesh. By contrast, the powerful muscles I built by a lifetime of swimming are quickly becoming soft and tender. When I'm good and cooked, the tall human removes me from the fire and presents me to the small one. It's a gesture of kindness from one individual to another, the care of the able for the unable. But if I must lose my own life to sustain that of one of these humans, I would much rather it was the tall, strong one who caught me in the first place, not this weakling. Perhaps that's all a left behind like me is good for. The fry takes my thoroughly burned body in her dirty hands and stares down at me with an uncomprehending gaze. She must be suffering from some affliction. Her eyes are almost devoid of life as mine must be by now. Go on, just peel off the scales and tuck in. The tall one ventures a suggestion, and the fry hesitantly tears away the silver skin of my flank and brings the exposed pink tissue towards her mouth. Her teeth sink into a bit of the soft muscle and slide it easily away from the ribs, which thankfully remain intact. It really would be too much if she were to choke on one. She takes another bite, a bit bigger this time, and another, and then stops. Her shoulders are shaking. What happened? Is she actually choking? The tall one doesn't seem to be alarmed. She says something and the fry nods in response. Something wet falls on my half-eaten corpse. The fry is crying. Her flat, scaleless face is all screwed up, and big tears are falling from her eyes. How about that? I told you this little fish was something special. Geez, come on. You can thank me after you've stopped crying. Unless you're trying to thank the fish. The language they're speaking and the tears falling on my body are things that are incomprehensible to me, but I almost feel as though I understand. You were left behind as well, weren't you? It's a younger Otto. But, just a dream. And that's where I'm going to call it for tonight. Yeah, I think keeping one chapter a day is a good pace. Thank you for watching, and thank you for chatting, and I appreciate it. If you're interested, I'll probably be continuing on tomorrow. If you stop by, see you then. Oh, thank you for making it. Thank you for releasing it. This is really fun. I'm really happy to see this art, and the story is interesting. I'm having a lot of fun. Thank you. Bye bye.